Hello and welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you're new, I'm Corie. Welcome to my channel. If you're returning, thank you as always for being here. I have some brand new Christmas in July DIYs, so let's go ahead and get right on into the crafting.
DIY number one. All right, I have this little wood round that is like a natural wood round, and then these two little wooden circles that came in a pack from the Dollar Tree. It was a whole bunch of different little pieces of scrap. I want to say plywood. It is not plywood. Draftwood. I forget what this is called. I know you guys will be able to tell me, but I realized after I put it on there that I should have painted it. So I went into my stash. I've got all kinds of folk art little acrylic paints, and I pulled out yellow, and I am just going to give this a coat. Actually, both of them a coat of the yellow paint. I had some hot glue strands there that I was just trying to get rid of. And once I have those painted, I'll go ahead and add on those little googly eyes that I had pulled out and had shown you. And you don't necessarily have to paint this yellow. I mean, you could do whatever makes your heart happy. This is inspired by something that I saw online. I saw these cute little owl ornaments, and I thought, how sweet. And they were like plaid and stuff like that. But I figured I would keep mine a little bit more natural and use these rounds that I'd gotten from Arteza a while back. It did have a pre-drilled hole in the top there for putting a little hanger on it, so that's going to work out perfectly. And then I'm just adding some little scraps of greenery that I had from another project that was just kind of hanging out on my table, and I was like, oh, I can use that for this. So I had put a little dollop of hot glue down at the base, and I'm kind of tucking the greens into the hot glue as it cools down. It started getting a little bit harder to stick them in there, but then I had pulled off these little leaves from a little poinsettia pick that I had, but I decided that they were just a little too large for what I was trying to do here. So I opted to add some additional greenery. This is from a package that I had gotten from the Hobby Lobby a while back when it was on clearance. And I'm just going to trim it down so that it fits to the design that I've got going on here. And then you also might be noticing the little white pine cones at the top left of my screen. Those are from, is it Temu or Timu? I think it might be Temu. And forgive the chains rattling in the background here if you can hear those, because Sam Dog just decided to come and hang out with me while I do my voiceover here on the couch. But the little white pine cones are a little bunch that I'd gotten from Temu, if that's how you say it. And I'll be adding one of those on in a second. But in the meantime, I've got this other little package that was from the Dollar Tree, and it had a ton of teeny little pine cones in it and other little like seed pods that had been painted red and gold. And so I've got a seed pod on there that was red. I figured it could serve as, you know, not berries, but I don't know, give it a little bit of an accent. Added on some of the white little pine cones, and I've got this other cute little tiny pine cone from the seed pod, or seed pod, and that other little package from the Dollar Tree that I added on there. I am adding on my little eyes. You could also use buttons, or you could paint eyes. If you don't have the googly eyes, that's fine. I just thought it would make him a little bit more whimsical and fun. Taking a couple more of these little white pine cones and going to put them on as his little ears. I could have used the natural colored ones also, but I don't know. I was really liking the white ones, so I opted to use them. And I liked that they had that little wire on them. They're almost like little mini picks, because it made it easier for me to attach them to the back here. So I just used some hot glue there to tack them down. And now I have a piece of jute cord that was left over in my stash from another project. It was like a scrap. I always like to use scraps when I can. I just threaded through some floral wire there, and I'm going to use that to pull the jute cord through that hole, because it was just a little bit too narrow to push the cord through on its own because I'm using a rather thick cord. You could also just use a twine or a string or whatever you decide to do. I wanted the jute just because I felt like it would go nicely with the rest of this ornament design. How cute is he? But I felt like he still needed something else, so I grabbed another one of those little seed pods that was painted gold, and I thought it looked like a perfect little beak. So I'm going to go ahead and attach that on, and he is all set. Let me know what you think of this little guy. DIY number 2. Okay, I have some sublimation paper. Now, I have done sublimation printing on regular 8.5 by 11 copy paper, but I decided that I was going to invest in some sublimation paper that I got from Amazon. This is also butcher paper. I was like, while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and get the butcher paper because if you followed me for a while, you know I usually just end up using parchment paper and I layer it up, but generally they call for butcher paper. So I went ahead and did that. I was showing you my 18-inch pillow form, and this is a Cricut pillow blank 18-inch. I'm just trying to check out the instructions. And then I was just showing you my Joy design. I realized that I hadn't mirrored it when I was looking at the instructions. I was like, oh no. So I'm going to have to print that again. It turned out fine because I ended up using some of those red snowflakes off of the original printout. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just use it to figure out how it's going to look on here. I was feeling like it was a little bit small for the 18-inch pillow, which is why I decided to go ahead and use the additional snowflakes later on. But here you can see I did get it mirrored. I'm going to go through all of the steps using my little lint roller to make sure that there's no lint or little anything on here so that it is nice and clean. I did also insert a piece of, they said I insert cardstock. I put in just scrapbook paper, which has a little bit of a pattern on it. So if you see it through the pillow casing, that's what that is. Gonna go ahead and give it a press to get any wrinkles out, just following the instructions that you can find on Cricut's website for this. And I decided that I wanted to press the rest of it because I didn't like that it was just smooth in the one area and then not in the other. So I'm just going to go through and press it. So also, while I'm doing this, I wanted to remind you to check out my Stan store. You will find a link for that in the description box, and you will also, in the Stan store, be able to find things like this Joy design. So all of my designs that I've done over the years are available in the Stan store. I do appreciate your support, so thank you for checking that out. And there's also a free guide, just a basic guide on how to use Canva if that's of interest to you. All the designs are just $1 or $2 in there. Some of the more complicated ones, or if I have bundles, they might be a little bit more, but they're generally just $1 or $2. So I went ahead and look at how awesome this turned out. I was so excited. And I have to say the sublimation paper did make a difference with the vibrancy. In my opinion, it was worth getting that the special paper. So here I'm using the one that I had done originally that I had forgotten to mirror. So make sure you mirror your designs, learn from my mistakes. But I am just going to cut out those additional red snowflakes and place them around. I'm just making sure it's nice and cool because I don't want any ghosting. But I'm going to place them around my design. Right now I'm doing them face up so that I can see how they're going to look. Now, when I mirrored the design, I also enlarged my design a little bit. So it printed a little bit lighter with the snowflakes than the original. I hope that makes sense. So you're going to see that these new ones that I'm putting down, they're actually going to be darker red than the designs that I had as part of the whole joy image. And it's because I had made the design larger when I went to print it again, just to try to do my best to fill in as much of the pillow space as I could. I hope that makes sense. But so you can see there that those ones that I just did are slightly darker than the others. That doesn't really bother me. I notice it, especially because I'm the one doing it, and I'm always very hard on myself and self-critical. But I think it's fine, and it gave me an opportunity to expand the design a bit. I was just closing the zipper on the bottom of my pillowcase there so that it would be out of the way as I do this. I also want to remind you that whenever you comment on my videos, you're going to be getting a chance to win. So a chance for every time you comment per video to win a Cricut or a Cricut Joy when I hit 50,000 subscribers. So thank you to all of you who have been commenting on my videos, to those of you who've been sharing. Make sure you give a thumbs up, make sure you're subscribed, and you hit the little bell icon to get notified every time I upload a new video so you can make sure you get as many entries into the drawing as possible. All right, so I just pulled out that scrapbook paper. I'm just trying to make sure that it's nice and cool. Because I don't want to end up, I don't know if you can smear the design on sublimation while it's still warm, but I'm not taking any chances. So once it was cooled off, I've got my pillow form that I am shoving into the pillow and just making sure that it's in the corners as best as I can. And then I'll go ahead and zip it up, and this is done. I love this. I did see this, a similar design. I think it might have been on Temu. So I did decide to try and recreate it myself. So look, you can do this. And how pretty. Let me know what you think. DIY number 3. All right, this is from the Dollar Tree. It is just a foam round for wreaths, and this is a scrap piece of wired garland that I have in my stash. I was going to use this as a base for the wreath that I'm going to put together. If you saw the spring wreath I did a little while back with this type of a form, I literally just pressed the flower picks into it, the greenery first and then the flower picks. And I am planning on doing the same sort of thing with this one, but for the holidays. This is going to be more of a traditional looking wreath as opposed to more whimsical, or some of what I do sometimes with the is it deco mesh? Yeah, deco mesh. So this is going to be a very traditional looking wreath, and you can decorate it however you choose with whatever types of holiday picks you have, but this will at least give you a basic inspiration, so to speak, hopefully, for what you could do with this. It was surprisingly easy the first time that I used this wreath form. I didn't expect it to be so simple, so I was excited about that. These are some additional picks that I got from Temu a while back, and I think they are so pretty. I was wishing that I had more of them. At first, I was hoping that I'd have enough to go around this form because it was, it's not a huge wreath form. I would say, I don't think it's even 12 inches across, but it might be a 10-inch form. But I'm going ahead and trying to fill it in. And as I was going, I realized that I only had not even half of my wreath form covered, and I was more than halfway through my picks. So I did start taking it apart so that I could space them out a little bit. Now, I will say this. Once you figure out what greenery you have in mind for filling in your form, keep the more delicate pieces until the end. And I say that because I got all of these in, and then I'm realizing that I need to use other greenery, which was a little bit more basic and heavier, I will say. And I was trying to put it in around these picks, and so here it is, right? This is another garland. I'd gotten this out of a grab box from Michael's a year or two ago, and I wasn't really sure what to do with it. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to cut it apart and use it for my wreath and for other various projects where I need some greenery. So I'm just literally trimming off pieces, and I'm going to try and stick it in here around the other more delicate picks that I've already got in there. Again, you can learn from my mistake here and make sure you put down the thicker, heavier stuff first, and then layer the lighter, more delicate picks or pieces, whatever you're using, on top. You can see I'm kind of trying to manipulate it to have the lighter stuff come forward, but ultimately I ended up having, just like that, to kind of pull them out and reinsert them on top, because they were just getting completely buried and lost. You couldn't see them at all anymore, and they're so pretty. So the prettier stuff, I would say, make sure you're layering on top. Your more basic filler, make sure you're putting that on the base, on the bottom. So I'm going to continue to work my way around the wreath until I feel like I've got it all filled in, that the form is no longer visible, that it's looking balanced. Some of these pieces that I had cut off of the garland were longer than others, or there were more little, I'm going to call them branches or twigs on them than others. They were variable. Let's just say it that way. So I wanted to make sure that everything was looking as balanced as possible. I did end up cutting off some single, I don't even know what to call them, single pieces, and tucking them in as well. So now I have, from my stash that I've had for quite some time, these little mini pine cones. I had also gotten these from Hobby Lobby a while back, and I'm going to cut this down into little smaller sections and tuck them in to start decorating my wreath here. And I'm going to work my way all the way around the wreath with little tiny pine cones. I do still have some of those other little white pine cones from Temu that I used in the other project, and I'm going to be adding some of those in here so you can see this. So I'll just get those pulled apart and trim them down a little bit and tuck them in between the other pine cones. I do end up adjusting the placement of some of these once I add in some of my berry picks. So sometimes it's kind of, you adjust as you go, which is another reason I was happy that I didn't have to be using hot glue for this, because I'm very visual. And so I'll do something and I like the ability to alter it or adjust it, right? So if I were to go in with hot glue on this right away, I would lose the ability to do that. So I have seen other crafters who go right in with the hot glue, and that is awesome. If you have the eye for it and are confident in your placement, have at it. I'm just not as confident in where I want things until I can see them in place. So I had those red berries, and now these are from the Dollar Tree. They are gold glitter berries. I figured it would just kick it up a little bit. I've got a lot of dark colors here, and I just felt like it needed something that was going to help brighten it up a little bit. Now you could also add a bow onto your wreath. I opted not to do a bow for this one. I did think about it, and then I just decided that I didn't think it needed it, and I wanted to just keep it very traditional looking. So that was the way that I opted to go, but you certainly can add a bow onto your wreath, and I think it would be absolutely beautiful as well. It's all personal preference. But there she is. Let me know what you think of this one. And now it's time for a shout out timeout. Beautiful Tam Lee. You can check out how she made these on her YouTube channel, Homemade Smiles with TLC. And awesome, Tammy. These are gorgeous. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I would love to give you a shout out as well. If you have interest, just send me an email at craftedbycorie@gmail.com. DIY number 4. All right, I have burner covers from the Dollar Tree and a Dollar Tree gift bag. Let's do this. So I knew that the larger one was probably going to be the way to go. I verified it, and yes, I need to use the larger burner cover. I'm essentially going to create a little Christmas sign, and I thought that this gift bag was super pretty. It is double-sided. On the one side, it is just the image with no glitter, and on this side, it has glitter enhancements. Let's call it that. So I trimmed it down, and I'm just making sure I'm going to be able to center it on here. I'm not going to worry about getting it the same size and shape as my cover for right now. I will do that once I have it all adhered. You'll see what I'm going to do. So I was looking for a color that was going to complement the design, and I pulled out this salmon coral chalk paint. It is by Home Decor, and I'm going to give this a coat. It probably doesn't need it over the rooster, but just in case there's any chance of it showing through my bag design, I didn't want the design to be compromised at all. And then I'm just going to coat the sides as well. I did give it 2 good coats just to make sure that there was complete coverage, and then I was ready to go. I pulled out my Mod Podge. Doesn't matter what color what finish Mod Podge. I think this one might be matte or satin, but it's going to be covered up. I'm really just using it as glue. You could totally use school glue for this if you wanted to, but I'm going to let it dry, and then I am going to be ironing this on. That is my favorite way to do Mod Podge projects whenever it makes sense, because I don't have issues with it wrinkling. So just made sure, I bumped it, so I got to make sure it's all lined up again. I do put the parchment paper over top of it. I'm sure you could use butcher paper for that as well, but I'm going to use my parchment, and I'm just going to give it a really good iron. I'm just using my mini easy press here. And once I feel like I've gotten it sealed on there around the edges, I'm ready to trim off the excess. So I grabbed my self-healing mat and my X-Acto knife, and I'm going to just run it right along the edge of that burner cover base. So I'm going to cut that all off, and it'll be lined up immediately with the edge. And that way I know that I'm preserving as much of the design as possible. I've got a nice clean edge on there, and just making sure that everything is nice and sealed on there. Look how pretty. And now I'm going to take this ribbon that I'd gotten recently from Costco. It is one of my Kirkland ribbons that I'm always talking about. I love the quality of the ribbons. It is relatively plain with this burlap look to it, and then it just has a little bit of the bling to it, which I thought would be a nice complement to the rest of the design. Going to cut off a longer piece to serve as the knot in the middle, and then the little tails for the bow, and we'll go ahead and attach it onto the piece once I get this tied down and situated. So once I played with it a little bit and got it fluffed up the way I wanted it, I'm going to go ahead and attach it right to the top. So just making sure it's where I want it, adding a little bit of hot glue, and then I will hold it in place until the hot glue cools enough and the bow is completely secure. Now, I didn't end up showing it on the video because I was hoping that this would stay on my little nail in my wall by itself, but there is a little bit of an angle to the burner covers. It is not like straight on, so I did end up adding a little piece of wire with hot glue to the back of this to use as a hanger. Just want to make sure you're aware of that. And I'm just tacking down the ribbon where I want it to keep that in place. And then I will also dovetail the ends of the bow here. So to dovetail it, I'm going to fold it in half and cut it on an angle, with the shorter part of that angle being in the middle of the bow. Do the same thing on the other side. And then I think I tack it down again, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, just to make sure that everything stays in place where I want it. So just a teeny little drop of hot glue because I don't want it showing through the ribbon. And that's it. I think this came out so nicely, but please let me know what you think of this one, and let me know which one was your favorite today.
Okay, everybody, that's it for today. If you enjoy the projects, please remember to give me a big thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know which one was your favorite, and until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care. Bye.